Welcome, Leo, to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 23rd of October. As this week begins, Venus, the planet of love, but also sensuality, but money in your second house, which is very much to do with those principles too, reaches a peak in its angle to Jupiter. This is the best link between the two for the whole year. These are the two planets of fortune. Jupiter may be going backwards, but for you it's still in a very visible part of your chart, very much to do with your worldly interactions. There could be a slice of good news, which therefore brings you into this week, which can really delight you, especially if it is being acknowledged for the hard work you put in, maybe an improvement in your terms and conditions in a job, or if you work for yourself, a new client, or if you're doing something creative, you're starting to see the progress, which can be very gratifying. But ironically, Mercury, the planet of communication, although it linked in such a sparkling way with the Sun in the Cazimi last Friday, as we come into this week, it's moved into Scorpio, which is more introverted, to be honest. Scorpio is a more feminine energy, and Mercury in the fourth house can see us so inward that we almost can let ideas go around our mind. That's very Mercury, but find it more difficult to output them. Still, the Sun joins up with Mercury and the waiting Mars in Scorpio on Monday, and that really brings Scorpio season alive. Now, if you are someone who really loves getting together with your family, people in your extended group that are really important to you, the next month could be a very gratifying time. If you are in a situation where you want to make some physical improvements to your home, say for example if you're in the southern hemisphere, Mars being in the fourth house could give you the drive to build something, whether it's a new garden shed, a greenhouse, a patio, or if you're in the north, maybe that desire to achieve something could be to do with moving your home around in some way, making some modifications. A new home office or creating more space for where you use your computer at home is also possible as Mercury and Mars align later in this week. But because you've got Uranus, which can be a disruptor, but Jupiter in its retrograde in your 10th house, that's how you're elevating yourself and connecting to people of influence, and it's where you're raising your profile and trying to be successful. But because of the lunar eclipse, which occurs at the end of this week on Friday, is in that area, if you are feeling dissatisfied or vulnerable in your professional situation, the emotional component of that is going to become very important over the next half year, because the solar eclipse of the 14th is asking you to use your mind, creativity, and giving you a greater desire to interact with people. But you're being reminded from the lunar eclipse that however ambitious you may be, the 10th house, you need to always be in touch with who you are in terms of your emotional identity. So that means not letting pride get too much into the equation. We can all reach to attain a prize that is beyond our current situation, but it is important, I feel, to enjoy things, feel safe, feel comfortable with the people that we're aligning with or working with, and that could be a little bit of a juggling act for you over the next 6 months from this eclipse. But certainly Jupiter is giving you a lot of push to go for it, and I think Mars in a way is kind of providing a counterpoint because they're in polarity, so they're opposing one another, and Mars could be potentially provoking within you a sense of insecurity, whereas Jupiter is provoking within you the desire to be heard, recognised and be successful. So I feel just work on your inner self on the back of this particular lunation, and keep developing the plan, that big picture, and keep learning and sharing ideas and obtaining more information, because that ultimately, the solar eclipse, I feel will be the more dominating factor for you generally over the next year and a half, and that's going to see a lot more conversation, but Undoubtedly, this Scorpio energy does point towards some changes around where you live physically, emotionally, much more awareness perhaps to your roots. You may even find yourself checking out some genealogy and trying to understand the family tree and what your emotional identity really is.